right. This is Marcus Washington from Making the Cut today. Joining me is Central Arkansas's Jonas Munson. Jonas, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing terrific. Staying at home like I'm
Yeah.
supposed to.
Yeah. How are you surviving that? How are you staying home? What are you doing to pass your time?
So, I've been watching some documentaries. I go on runs to stay in shape, and I do a lot of push-ups. Otherwise, cleaning, doing some schoolwork. That's about it.
Yeah. It's really, really been tough on all of us. So I know you played at West Potomac. I don't know if you knew this about me, but I used to coach at Annandale and at Robinson. So that used to be a rivals of ours. To tell you how old I am. I don't know if this is still the case, but we used to all be in the same conference. I don't know
Yeah,
if that's the case
changed a little
anymore.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I figured as much, but kind of talk about the transition from West Potomac to Central Arkansas playing at a Division I school.
Well, so my high school coach played Division I, and he I'd never played at another high school, so I don't totally know this, but from what I understood, he ran it like a Division I program to the best of his ability. So we had a schedule every month in the off season of what we were doing. We were always lifting weights and running and playing pickup as much as we were allowed to do with the rules. Virginia high school rules are kind of strict. But I think the biggest transition probably was just the amount. So we would do tough workouts and practice a lot in high school, but in college you do it every day, and it's always you got to do something. But I do think that the flexibility in school actually helped. So it got better when I got to college because I could sort of, I only had to go to 3 classes a day instead of 7. And so I think that that helped balance out the fact that I was doing so much more basketball.
What was the competition like just in the practices, compared to high school? How competitive would those practices get for playing time and everything else?
Oh yeah, I mean we would get into some shoving matches, shouting, just people. We were always really into it, and people cared, which we cared in high school, but we never took it to that level. And it was a bit of a shock the first couple times we played pickup in college. First time playing against guys who are also 7 feet tall. But I think I acclimated myself pretty quickly.
What are something like for young kids who are starting to get to the high school level, playing AAU like you play AAU? What are some of the things that from high school to college that they think they know, but they probably don't know that you've learned?
So I think they know that when you go to the next level, it's tougher. But I think what people don't talk enough is how long the day is. So I would get up at 7 in the morning for practice every day, and then we would practice for about 2 hours, and then we would lift, and then we would have a shooting workout right after that. So it was about 3 hours there in the morning, and then you go to class, and then after class, you go back and you have another shooting workout, and then you do your homework. You're expected to go to mandatory study hall, and then you still have to get in the gym at another point that day just to keep up with everybody else. So you're spending 4 or 5, 6 hours in the gym probably every day.
Nah. I know when I was in college, they always calls it the freshman 15, that weight that you put on when you first got there.
Yeah.
How do they manage, or how did you manage your nutrition also, which kind of gets lost in the sauce of how important it is? You're away from home and you're on a college campus. How did you manage all of that?
Well, so I think it was a little different for me because I wanted to gain weight. So I was just eating as much as I possibly could. We had unlimited swipes into our cafeteria.
Okay.
So we could go whenever we wanted, and so I would eat as much as I could.
Well, that's a nice problem to have. I never
Yeah.
had that issue. But you talked about the competition and playing against other guys your size, probably for the first time with that sort of skill level. What was that like, and how did you get used to actually having a guy who could contest that was just as big as you?
How did I get used to it?
Yes.
Well, I think just over time it helped, but I thought that when I did go up against them in practice, I sort of elevated my own game because I knew it was an important thing, and I think that I felt like I always sort of played to my competition, and
Mhm.
so I think since they were so good, it made me better.
Yeah, yeah, and that makes sense. So I know your workouts are very, very limited now because of the situation we're in as a country with the coronavirus. But what were some of the things you were going to work on in the off season before you got back into things back on campus?
So when the season ended, I stayed on my lifting schedule. I was during the season I was lifting 5 or 6 times a week,
Mhm.
and in the off season I was doing the same. And that was more than other team members because I needed to be stronger. And I was working on my ball handling a little bit, and I I did the free throws, jump hooks, stuff like that. But something that I was really working on was uh, multiple step post moves. So face up, spin to the basket, and then figure like up and under from there. And I was working on instead of just doing a double move, trying a triple move, and doing that against defense. And I was starting to work on that.
So how much when you were in high school, how much did you play with your back to the basket? And so especially in this era where even with bigs of your size, they want you to stretch out a lot. Did you play mainly in the post when you're at West Potomac?
Yeah, it was mostly in the post, but I did shoot uh, about probably a 3-pointer a game. Um, I sort of since I got to college, I sort of went away from that because I wanted to. So our starting big is a 3-point shooter. That's what he was good at, and so I sort of wanted to differentiate myself from that. And so I worked on my back to the basket game, my pick and roll finishing, and running the floor and stuff like that.
Mhm. Defensively, what are some of the things that changed for you from a high school level onto that college level? Kind of some of the things that you needed to work on or get better at.
Well, so in high school, I could mostly stand in the paint when I was guarding a big guy and just protect the basket. But now in college, when you switch and everybody is really good, I end up having to guard on the perimeter a lot, especially since I would be playing with someone else who's also a big, and I'd usually be the four. Um, I would end up guarding twos, threes, sometimes the point guard on a switch on a pick and roll. So I think I got better at it, but it was something that I wasn't used to when I first got to college.
So, going from Alexandria to Central Arkansas, there are probably some differences in environment. Was there a particular favorite restaurant, favorite place to go to when you were down there on campus?
Um, hmm. So we don't have Sonic here,
Mhm.
and I figured out how good Sonic was when I got down to the South. It's legit.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So, you talked about your academics earlier and stuff and that full day. How do you manage your academics? I know you were very good academically coming out of high school. How do you manage that with everything going on and making sure that you keep up with your studies even when the team's traveling?
So I write. When we get our syllabuses, I like to write it all down in a planner that I have, um, and I think something about writing it down just helps you remember that it's happening.
Mhm.
Um, and then always checking Blackboard when you're on the road. You have a lot of time on the road, so you might as well spend it doing homework.
Mhm.
Um, I just think you know making it something that you want. If it's something you want to do, you can do it.
Yeah. Yep. And I'll get you out on this. Who is the toughest? And I don't care what level this is. Who is the toughest player that you ever played against?
Toughest player I ever played against. That's a tough one. Hmm. I think it's. Hmm. I couldn't tell you.
Oh,
I honestly don't know.
yeah. No, I completely understand it. So Hey, Jonas, thank you for your time. Hopefully, once the season gets here, we can talk again. I know you guys got a lot of time on your hands, but I
Yeah.
appreciate you spending 10, 15 minutes with us.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, buddy.